yes, you can absolutely do a video on a budget. However, you know, instead of assuming that we have all of the equipment ready to go and we're just going to show up on a location and start shooting, we're going to go over the process of how we obtained the equipment, how we did everything for as cheap as possible.
Yeah.
Louis, my man!
Yes, man.
Good to have you!
Thank you.
Sarah!
So let's jump right into it. Can you make a music video on a budget?
No. No, you can. You can make a video, whether it be a music video or a short film, on a budget. The question is, how much of a budget will dictate how big of a project you can do. I sort of go by the rule of good, fast, and cheap. But you can only pick two, right?
Good, fast, and cheap.
But pick two. So you can have it good and fast, but it ain't gonna be cheap. You can have it good and cheap, but it ain't gonna be fast. Or you can have it fast and cheap, but it ain't gonna be good.
Which one would be the ideal combination?
A huge amount of money at your budget so that you can do it good and fast. But what we're discussing today is how to do it on the cheap, which means that if you want it to be done good, it's probably not gonna be done quickly.
Yeah.
I think the best place to start actually is with your resources, right? And when it comes to resources, you would look at either what's in your wallet.
Your parents' wallet?
If you still live with your parents, then sure. But yes, if you have an investor,
Yes. Yes.
like your parents, or doing some crowdfunding.
What would you say is the most important part of planning out your resources?
Well, when I talk about resources here, I'm talking about financial resources,
Yes.
basically.
Resources could be also people resources, connection resources, location resources.
Locations that you have available as well, right? Like let's say, you know, you have access to a really great location for no money. Well, that's an amazing resource. Get as many people to work for free as possible. It helps if you're nice to people and you're well liked. If you're an asshole, you're fucked. No one will work for you. If you figure out what you already have,
Yes.
right, and go from there. So you know what kind of money you have, you know what talent you have access to, you know what kind of crew you have access to, what kind of locations you have, and the more that you can work within what you already have,
Yeah.
the cheaper it's gonna be. Once you figure out what your resources are, then you can go about actually designing a plan. Your blueprint, your script. Script is the blueprint.
How did we come about writing the script?
This is the thing, right? I didn't write the script based on our resources.
Okay.
We sort of went back and forth on the script for a while. And the main reason that we went back and forth on the script was budget. Do we need the beach scene?
Yeah.
Do we need the school scene? Do we need this? Do we need that? And it got to a point where it was evident that the stuff that I really wanted, that was in my vision, was way beyond my budget. Instead of looking at the resources that we had and trying to fit within that, I thought, screw it, I'm gonna do it all green screen. We were able to get all of those locations, but it just took a lot of time because I had to create everything CGI.
Yes.
That's a huge advantage nowadays with the technology. If you know how to do visual effects and so on, there's very little limitations.
Yeah.
If we were to do this in the 60s, we would have needed several $100,000.
Yeah.
Just based on locations alone. And then when you add in locations, then you're adding in transportation, you're adding in
Permits,
you know.
Yeah.
insurance.
If you want to do it for like super duper cheap, start out with your budget and work around it.
Okay.
We kind of went the opposite way, but we still managed to do a pretty good job.
Yeah, I think so too. I agree.
Yes.
The more organized you are, the more smoothly it'll run, and the cheaper you can produce something. Once you have the script, which is your blueprint, and you've decided, you know, what you're going to do based on your resources and so on, it's best to start making
Shot list?
right. I call them breakdowns. That's a scene breakdown. Here is actually the shot list. You can tell I even color coded it, right? 'Cause I'm so organized. This is a breakdown of the props. All of these breakdowns come off of the actual script. This was pretty much our call sheet. So we have a breakdown of like the scene and the wardrobe and you know
The
who's going to be in
talent.
each scene. Exactly. All
These things flowing on set.
Yeah. So you know exactly what you need that way.
Yeah.
Right. You're like, okay,
What you need
we're now
ready.
we're doing The Office, which means that we need these props, these talent, this wardrobe for each talent. That way you don't have, there's no second guessing.
Yeah.
When time is money,
Yeah.
because you've rented equipment
Yeah.
and you have a very limited time frame within which you can get things done. Otherwise, you start spending more money.
Yeah.
Be as organized as possible. If you have to stop and try to think for a minute, you're fucked. Concentrate on getting the footage. Get the performance. Once you have the footage, you can spend all the time you need editing it, right? Just get the footage. And that means don't think about anything else.
Working with a green screen makes a bigger variety of locations that you can create. It gives you a lot more freedom. So would you say you prefer working on green screens? Do you prefer to work on location?
I would prefer to work on location myself because
Okay.
Same here.
Yeah.
it depends on the shot. It depends on what you're doing.
Okay.
Real locations are going to look more natural.
And I think though, when you're shooting in real location, if ever you don't have a big resources in post-production, your real location will save you lots and lots of money. Because I don't know much about, you know, like special effects and da. Use a park.
Yeah.
A park is right there.
Yeah.
Imagine if you had to get a green screen of a park. How
Yeah.
much time it would take you to like do the trees, the
Yeah.
park bench, and so on and so forth.
If you shoot in a park, unless you've got a closed set, you don't know who's going to be there, who's interrupting you.
Yeah.
You don't know how the sun is going to peek behind the clouds.
Or the
Yeah.
weather.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very weather dependent.
Background noise, all the environmental.
The big advantage with doing things green screen is you're in a studio and it's a completely controlled environment. No birds are shitting on you. Well, I mean, if like I said, if you have a closed set, let's say you're in a building,
Yeah.
you're on location, that's perfect. You've got a closed set, you can go and film exactly how you want. You can adjust the lighting. Green screen just allows you to go to different locations on a closed set that you may not have access to.
Yeah.
Green screen is pretty easy to do nowadays. You don't need actual access to a green screen studio. They sell sheets of green paper that you can hang up on a wall, light it as well as you possibly can, film in front of that. There's free software. It's plenty amazing what you can do on your computer at home now. If you can invest the time, then you can learn all of this type of stuff and you can save a lot of money. And that again will fit into your budget. If you know how to do all this stuff, right, and you have the time to spend on it, then you could go a little crazy like we did.
Yeah.
If you don't know how to do the stuff and you don't have anyone that's willing to do it for you
Cut
for
it
free,
off.
Yeah.
Cut it off.
cut it off. Well, yeah, I just wanted to go over just quickly what our breakdown wound up being. The most expensive thing was props.
But you did build a lot of yourself, which
I-
also saved you some money as opposed to renting props.
Either renting or buying,
Yeah.
right? Because we had the stretcher. To buy a stretcher, you can't rent a stretcher.
No.
So to buy a stretcher costs more than
Little bit of
I
money.
wanted to spend.
Yeah. What was kind of the process that you had when it came to getting all of your props together before the video?
Anything that I already had access to got used.
Yeah.
Anything that I didn't have already, I spent a lot of time building. We had the rig for the bicycle.
Yeah.
I needed a table for the office. I needed a stool. I wound up getting those really, really cheap. Every dollar counts. Every bit that you can save, that's less money that you have to spend.
Yeah.
The second largest expense was equipment and office.
Okay.
So the big expenses for that were the camera and the insurance.
Okay.
And there were a couple of other little expenses that went in there. I did need some ink and some photo paper for printing up for doing the casting and so on. But the main expense there was the camera. So props are more expensive than the actual equipment. If you already have equipment, then that's great, you know?
Or you have a friend that has equipment.
Yeah.
That's great too.
That's like almost better.
You didn't have to pay for it.
If you don't have the equipment already, there are a lot of places where you can rent very good equipment. I mean, when we did S.O.B, we knew that we were gonna have to do it in 4K. Start out with the best equipment you possibly can. With lights also, you don't necessarily need to rent lights. We used construction lighting. You can pick up construction lights that are like 500 watt halogens for a reasonable price. I just built a frame for them and put gels in front and you know, to soften the light a little bit. Be creative.
Yeah.
The more you can do yourself and the more creative you are, the cheaper you can get it done. The problem is you're trading your time for money. Once again, good, fast, cheap.
Exactly.
Pick two.
Where do you start when it comes to building a crew?
The feet.
Okay.
Building your crew, I would say it's part of your social network.
Yeah, there's lots of networking groups online now.
You know, create your relationship way before the film starts.
If you go about things that way, then you know how people work. Andrew, who did the camera setup for us, I met him on a meetup group where they were shooting short films. You can meet some absolutely fantastic people by networking in the way that you suggested, Louis. Basically, like, get anyone you possibly can.
Okay.
Friends.
Yeah.
You know, think of it like you're moving your apartment. Like, hey, can you come over and help me move the couch? There's pizza and beer. A well-fed crew is a happy crew.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, and a happy crew doesn't leave. I recently had a friend of mine who helped out on set. She said to me, when are we doing this again? Because we had so much fun. And that's the impression that you want to leave with people that are helping you, is like, that was great, let's do it again. And when people want to do that for free, you know you've done something right.
How do you keep that rapport with your crew? How do you keep them happy and keep them working for you?
By not being an asshole.
Okay.
You know?
That helps.
By being understanding, and you have to realize that even though you're on a budget and you're on time constraints, these people are there to help you, and you're lucky to have them. As long as you remember they're doing you a favor and you're lucky to have them, and you treat them as such, things tend to go smoothly. Food and catering was the next most expensive. And it's because you have to make sure that your people are well fed. The environment on set has to be a good one. You have to be having fun. If somebody's not getting paid, or they're getting paid very little amounts of money, and they're not enjoying themselves, they can just go home.
Yeah.
See ya!
So what kind of food did you serve on set?
There was caviar. Oh shit, you didn't get any of that.
Oh!
We had a really good craft service. Things like muffins, we had chips, we had some chocolate bars, pop, we had coffee, all your regular sort of craft service stuff. Yeah, there was some sort of a substantial. And then we had pizza for the actual meal, because that was already agreed upon. Actually, we had done a poll, like, hey guys, what do you want to eat for lunch? Let's do pizza!
Yes.
Done! And then the next expense was casting and talent. If you're doing a music video, you're gonna need some sexy girls, right? If you just happen to know a whole bunch of hot girls that are willing to do things for you, this is why I got Louis. If you don't know everybody that you need, if you do need to do some casting, the more money that you spend, the better quality you're gonna wind up with. In terms of, you know, not only ability, but also reliability and professionalism. Because money talks.
Yes.
The more money you spend, the more professional it's going to be. However, if you're doing it on a budget, then be prepared that not everyone is necessarily going to show up 100% on time. If you're just, you know, casting models and hoping that they'll show up for pizza, good luck.
Probably not gonna happen.
Oh, insurance.
Insurance.
Yes, let's talk about that. So
The camera was worth over $10,000. I didn't want to take any chances.
no.
With the camera, the lens, and so if anything happened to those, I didn't want to have to sell my house. I definitely wanted to get those insured. There's a lot of different types of insurance that you can get. You can get liability insurance, you can get all kinds of stuff just in case somebody gets injured. There's a lot of people on set. You cannot have your eyes on everything.
No.
As the producer, you can't always be watching every little thing. You might ask someone to do something and they might be a little over anxious and wind up cutting themselves.
Yeah.
Or cutting somebody else. Accidents can happen. Insurance is something that definitely you should look into. And there are places online that do it. I did a search for set insurance and I was able to find a company that provided insurance for a reasonable price. It is definitely possible to make a film or a music video on a low budget. The key is planning, organization, and using everything that you have. Right? And anything that you don't have, be as stingy as possible. Get lots of friends to help you out.
Yeah.
And be prepared to spend some time in post-production, but mostly in pre-production. The really nice thing about it too is after you've done a project, then you do get to look at the breakdown of everything. How much did you spend on this? How much did you spend on that? And then in the future that it's going to cost approximately this much, or more, if you want to do it faster.
Yeah.
It's cost versus quality. Versus time.
Yeah.
If you want to have the low cost but the high quality, it's going to cost you all of that time. In preparing, in organizing, in networking, in ensuring that you have all of the stuff set up.
These are all key things to keep a cheap set.
You want to keep it on the cheap? Invest the time, get all of your resources already set up, get all of the education that you need, and design it from the very beginning.
To get to doing something semi-professional, music video, short film, try to do something with your sister. Build your way up to that, where you need a crew and so on and so forth.
Don't start with the big thing quite yet. Okay.
Sister or stepsister? Type that in the internet.
I can only
Make
imagine what
movie
would come
with
up.
stepsister.
Red tube, blah blah.
I don't know what any of those are.